Hello, Grand Archive players. Let's answer a rules question. What does it mean to fail to find? First, let's talk about private and public zones. Cards in public zones are face-up by default and public information for all players. Examples are the field, effect stack, each graveyard, and each banishment. Cards in private zones, in contrast, are face down by default, and players cannot look at them without special permissions. Examples of private zones are each player's hand, memory, and deck. There can be exceptions to these generalities. For example, Quicksilver Grail puts a card face down into banishment, even though banishment is a public zone. Guy's Blessing reveals the top card of his controller's main deck, which is normally a private zone. The important thing to note is whether or not a card is revealed or not. Think of the game itself as an entity that can see and read cards, so it can identify characteristics of revealed face-up cards. However, it can't see information about face-down cards, even if those cards are previously revealed. The only thing it can identify is the fact that it's a card and what zone it's in. The game trying to view cards doesn't have memories or object permanence. It can only acknowledge the information it currently sees face up. So, when a player is instructed to search a private zone, such as the hand, memory, or deck, for a card with a specific characteristic, that player can decline to find a card if they so choose. This is called failing to find. Think of it this way. Since they aren't revealed, the game is unable to prove that the cards were ineligible to be found by that effect. This will make more sense with some examples. Let's look at this card, Paired Mind Kindred Souls, which allows you to look at the top 10 cards of your deck for a card, in this case with the Horse Ally type. If for whatever reason you did not want to put a card in your hand, you could fail to find in this case. Now compare this to Gather Slimes. Since Gather Slimes reveals the top 5 cards of your deck, the properties of those cards, namely which of those are slime allies, are public information and known to the game. You could not decline to recover the appropriate amount and put an appropriate card to your hand. Another example. Let's say you control a Luxera's map that's awake and activate its ability. Could you fail to find in this case? In this case, you cannot fail to find as long as you have cards in your deck. This is because the game is aware that there are cards in your deck, and the effect of Luxera's map doesn't have any restrictions on what type of card you find with it. In the case that you happen to have no cards in your deck, Luxera's map would do nothing. Let's look at this familiar card, Quicksilver Grail. Note that its on-enter effect specifies a non-champion card. Although you probably wouldn't think of bringing a material deck filled entirely with champion cards, the game can't see whether or not any of the cards in your material deck fit or don't fit this criteria. Therefore, you are allowed to fail to find using Quicksilver Grail's on-enter. However, if there are any face-up cards in your material deck, such as a preserved card, the game would be able to tell that you had an eligible choice. Let's take a quick look at a previous example. If you control the Guy's Blessing revealing a horse card on top of your deck and activate Paired Minds Kindred Souls, you wouldn't be able to fail to find in that case for a similar reason. Note that although you physically take cards from the top of your deck to look at them, all 10 cards looked at are considered to be still in the main deck as you're resolving Paired Minds Kindred Souls, and only the topmost one will be revealed. Now, let's say you activate Spirit Blade Ascension, returning Drawn Blade as the additional cost. In response, your opponent fast activates and resolves a start. What can you do here? Can you claim to fail to find in this case? Remember that the game can only see properties of cards that are currently face up. Even though you demonstrably have a valid Sword Regalia, considering you just put Drawn Blade into your material deck, and it's abundantly clear to both players that you have at least one in there right now, the game cannot identify that there are any Sword Regalia in this private zone. Thus you can fail to find and not try to put anything into play. This time, let's activate Incarnate Majesty, which says to put a card named the Majestic Spirit from banishment or your material deck onto the field. In response, your opponent fast activates and resolves a start. As before, if the Majestic Spirit is in your material deck, you can fail to find a card named the Majestic Spirit from this private zone, even if it was revealed previously in the game. However, if the Majestic Spirit you own is currently face up in banishment, you're out of luck. Since the game can identify it as a card named the Majestic Spirit, you'll have no choice but to try to put it onto the field. And that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.